It's Friday Coffee with your mortgage man, Eric. So today, look, this is a good one. This might be a little controversial. And look, I try not to get controversial because this is all about education. But today, we're going to talk about solar without going bipolar. So let's get into it. So the reason why I'm talking about this, actually a couple different reasons, right? We're in the mortgage industry, the real estate industry, and we get asked these questions quite often from our clients. Good idea, bad idea, the property has a lease, should I take on the lease, we need more information about the lease, what are the responsibilities, and on and on. There's a ton of questions that come to a real estate agent and or a mortgage professional when your client is engaging in a property that has solar panels on it. And so I'm looking at getting solar panels for my own home. Seriously, I am. Last weekend, I filled out the stuff online, the solar estimator, waiting for people to call me with quotes. Today's Friday, right? So I've yet to get a phone call. Let that sink in. So let's talk solar without going bipolar. And look, I'm just asking you guys, keep an open mind. I'm trying to keep an open mind. I mean, look, I'm interested in getting solar panels on my own home. So I ask you this. Just because of some of the commentary is in here you may find negative, please don't think that this is negative. I put this out on Facebook a couple days ago to get some testimonials, to get some feedback. I've done my own research, and there's some intriguing research. Once you start peeling back the onion, the layers of onion, right, as I say, it becomes very interesting. And I think the first thing that we have to do is be careful of the word going green, because it's a trending word, right? It is a trending, catchy, frenzy kind of word, just like anything else in our marketing and advertising atmosphere. And we've got to be careful as consumers not to get too caught up in the trending word or verbiage or frenzy of sayings that's going on at the time, right? So let's dive into this. So I started my research on this, and when you fill out the online estimators, you actually get some education. And there's some links that you get as a potential consumer where you can go and get on blogs, start talking to people, and start finding, like, peeling back the onion layers, as they say, and start talking to people with their own testimonials that are in the process of getting quotes, just got solar panel systems, right? Things of that nature. So one of the disturbing things that I found right out of the gate by talking to some contractors, that being roofers and electricians, is that the rough cost, this is if you purchase it, not lease it. And I'm more of a purchase guy, not a lease guy. I purchase my vehicles. I don't lease them. Right, wrong, indifferent. It's just, I think it's a personal preference, right? I want to own my things. I don't want to lease them, turn them back in, and deal with the paper. A personal preference, each to their own. So when you purchase them, you're looking at $30,000, $35,000 in total cost. Now, and follow me here for the whole post, because I'm telling you, the whole video, because there's some really good testimonials on here. I got a home inspector on here. I got 2 or 3 guys from in the alternative energy sector that they're going to chime in. So I got some good stuff coming for you guys. And again, I'm not trying to be negative, so don't take this as negative. Don't, please have an open mind is what I'm saying, okay? Here we go. So your solar panels that they put on the roof actually cost less than $10,000 in cost, right, in parts. And so what that means is you have a company that's charging you roughly $20,000 to install them. Now, that was my first, whoa, time out. Are you kidding me? Research that more. Yes, that's true. You're looking at about $20,000 for this company to install your panels. And let's think about this. They have 2 men, maybe 3 men that's out at your home for a day's worth of work. It's usually a day. Sometimes they got to come back that second day for a couple hours, but it's usually a day. They're in, they're out. Keep that in mind. That is gouging. And we're going to get into some of the people in the alternative energy sector that actually admit that here in a bit from some of the posts that I have. So that's the first thing that just threw me. I'm like, are you kidding me? And then, well, yeah, but you get a $10, $11, $12,000 credit, tax credit. Okay, so you still have to front that money, and then you'll get the money back through tax credits later. And if you lease, you're not eligible for the tax credit. So you got to be aware of these marketing ploys, right, that you see on television about the tax credit. If you're going to lease, you get no tax credit. It's only for people that purchase their solar panel system. So keep that in mind. I think that for me was one of the biggest, like, wait a minute. And look, I still haven't made a decision. And either way, yes or no, I'm not going with it, right? I'm still researching this and finding out more about this. I want to save money for the future. You start getting in your mid-40s, you start thinking about retirement, and how can I reduce my bills for later on in life? And this is one of those maybe. And some of this kind of depends on the size of your home, how much your electric bill is, because if you're only paying $200 a month in electric, they'll tell you solar probably isn't worth it. You probably shouldn't go there. You're paying $300, $400, $500 a month in electric, you start to see more savings. I'm telling you, there's a lot more than meets the eye when it comes time to diving into this solar issue. So let's talk about some of the posts, right? Some of the people that were chiming in online. Okay, so we have a guy here that purchased a home that had solar on it. Obviously, he likes his solar now, but he did the research, and he's like, he found out that the only way that it made sense for him to have solar is if he purchased a home that already had solar. Now, let's think about that. That's almost like the person that goes into a new build home, right? Community center, the design center, and they get all those add-ons around the corners, the granite countertops, and all those little tiny add-ons, and before you know it, you're paying $350,000 for a home that's only going to appraise for $315,000, right? One of those guys. And then somebody later on, 2, 3, 4 years later, comes in and buys it on a resale. They get the benefit. That person gets the benefits, right? And so it's something like that. Yeah, hey, look, if I'm going to buy a home where the previous owner already took on the burden of the expenses and putting solar panels on the home, yes, it made sense for him, and he recognized that. Appreciate his comment, and I could see that. I can totally understand that mentality. Moving on. So we have a guy here, and he's actually a friend of mine back east that went through Solar City. And Solar City, I will have to say, is one of the better rated leasing solar panel companies. So there are some good things, some good posts about this, and some bad posts. So I think if I was going to do it, if I was going to lease it, I would probably look up Solar City. I'm seeing a lot of decent things about Solar City. Now, I'm not a fan of leasing though, right? So there's one of the problems. And here's the reasons why I'm not a fan of leasing. Is you better be banking on that company's going to be in existence for you in 10, 20 years down the road when your lease expires. Because your lease, and look, there's caveats to your lease. It can go up 2.39% per year. At the end of the 20 years, you can extend, or they take the panels down. So there is that issue. And let's also talk about the issue that you never get off the grid. For me, it was more of a self-sustaining type of investment to get my ROI. I'll spend $30,000 if I can get off the grid or nearly off the grid, right? And be self-sustaining. I would love that. Drive down the cost and be self-sustaining. But the problem is, if you're an SRP guy, homeowner, SRP is going to charge you $50 a month just to be on the grid. A tie-in fee. It is what it is. It's frustrating. And the fact of it is that you never get off the grid. You don't produce enough solar energy so that you can be 100% off the grid because they don't allow you to store the over excess, right? The excess energy at this point. The technology is out there that you can, but they don't offer it to the consumer yet, that you can store your solar energy for later usage. So you're not getting off the grid if you live in a city environment. So that's kind of discouraging for me. It's like I want to be off the grid or nearly off the grid, and you don't get there. You're not getting to a self-sustaining energy source. You're not. You're getting a portion, a fraction, a percentage is what you get. Moving on. Another good friend of mine chimed in is that we almost signed up, then they sent us the contract probably thinking we didn't read it. Well, we did, and it didn't match anything they said to us, so we didn't move forward. Moving on. We went to put a purchase offer on a house, and the listing agent said the solar panels were owned. This is one of the problems we come into contact with or have to deal with regularly. Oh, the solar panels are owned, then you find out later they're leased, and then you get to the lease, and then it's a lease payment that you're comfortable with. They back out. You wasted people's time, right? Obviously, he didn't go through with the purchase, went back out, found another home, bought another home. That happens. It happens more times than you think, that the listing side doesn't know exactly what's going on with the solar panels. Unfortunately, that is what it is. The first buyer that comes along, has to take the brunt of that education curve. Moving on. Yes, another friend of mine, don't forget that tax write-offs only go to people that purchase, not leasing. I've already mentioned that. Yes, it's a good one. Here's a guy that's in the renewable energy sector. This is his verbiage. Rooftop solar is a fraud. I spent 3 years in the renewable energy space from 09 to 12. Not only is the cost price gouging rampant, which I've mentioned at the beginning, the efficiency and actual return is always overestimated, which I heard on the blogs. The blogs are always saying, they give you this, wild predicament, these wild estimators of how much you're going to save, and they all say it doesn't come close to that. Yes, you do get savings, but it's not, they're kind of defrauding you at the beginning of part of the process with their estimators. You have to be careful, but in the end, even the best projections offset usage by 60% max, so you are still on the grid. You're still on the grid, just like I was saying. Investors love for you to lease. Billions in funds were created, and it's the same benefits to the investor as an auto lease. The returns are very high. And then I had a guy that chimed in and said, so you're really complaining about them making $20,000. And like, look, I'm all for capitalism, but I'm for capitalism without ripping off the consumer. I think that we all deserve to make a profit. But if you think that it's okay to charge a consumer $20,000 for work that can be done in 8 hours, there's something wrong there. There's something, and I don't care what the savings is. Does that make it right to charge the consumer that much money, right? Moving on. Man, this is a long one today. I knew it, and my apologies. Another guy in the renewable energy sector. Very true. There are many solar experts out there with very little to no real-world experience. The green component is oversold. This is a guy that's in the renewable energy sector. He works there. And he says this, the green component is oversold because, why? Because it's the trending word, like I was telling you at the beginning of the video. If your bill is less than $150 per month, solar is not good. I've been working with solar panels since 2008 and have been in this industry, seen the industry change in a long way. And this guy's looking to try to improve what we're just talking about charging people $20,000 to install your solar panels. Moving on. Another guy here that is for the solar panels. And he likes the capability of being able to say that he went green. And look, each to their own. I'm not going to argue anymore with this guy. You got 10% reduction, 15% reduction in his energy bill. Even I still couldn't find out what the net savings was for him. We'll leave that alone. Moving on, we get to a home inspector. Home inspector, here's a good one. Home inspector says this, that if you put solar panels on your roof, the underlayment, you take about half the shelf life away from the underlayment. Underlayment costs about $6,000 to $7,000 to replace each and every year. So keep that in mind as well. And look, I'm running out of time, guys. I could probably go on. There's a couple more here I could go on with. I think you get the point. With that said, it's Friday Coffee with your mortgage man, Eric. See ya.